Hello and welcome to the Ruth McFit podcast. I'm very happy to be here with you back after a week off. I was away taking the piss really because I was back in Barbados visiting friends and celebrating the running group's 40th birthday. And I had a lovely time, but I'm going to be honest, the first little bit of time I was away, I kept feeling like I'd forgotten something. Like, when you've got a parking ticket that's about to run out. That's how my husband described it. And I think it works well here. And then I realized it was because my children weren't with me and I haven't been away like that without them before. And the thing that I felt like I'd forgotten was them. And then I thought to myself, I want to make sure that I enjoy this time away. If I constantly have that mum guilt, I'm not going to feel like I'm enjoying myself. And I'm still not going to be at home with the kids. So I made sure that I had a nice time and I celebrated the things with the running group. I went horse riding and I came back actually feeling pretty tired, as though I needed some time to recover from that trip away. But it was brilliant. I feel very lucky. But I also was greeted to that proper cold, wintry weather that we've had. And it made me realize that we are fast approaching the end of November, coming into December. In fact, we're in the last week of November now. And that means that Christmas is well and truly on its way. And I think this is an important time to discuss that lead up to Christmas that I know so many of you will be thinking about now. And I absolutely love this build up. The Christmas lights, the markets, the smells of cinnamon, citrus, mulled wine, cozy fires, frosty mornings, like all of it. I get proper into it. Apart from wrapping presents, I wish I could say I enjoyed wrapping Christmas presents, but that is not my finest moment. And every year I say to myself that I'm going to be more organized with buying presents and wrapping them and so on. And then December is here and I'm going, oh shit, what am I going to get everyone? But for so long, this build up to Christmas used to feel so amazing. But then on Christmas Day itself, it would feel like this weird anticlimax. And I couldn't understand why. And I remember the exact Christmas when this really kind of hit me, what was causing this, because it was the year that my niece was born. I'd had a stinking headache all day, not from alcohol, just from eating so differently to how I normally eat. And Christmas Eve rolled into Christmas Day and I got that classic mindset of, yay, it's Christmas. I'll just have anything, everything, and then I'll worry about it later. And my body was like, absolutely not. We're going to worry about this now. And I needed to go to bed early. I was feeling awful. And this wasn't the first Christmas that I'd had a stinking headache on Christmas Day. And I remember it must have been about 10, half 10 at night. My sister came into my bedroom and she told me that she thought she was in early labor. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I'm probably the only one that hasn't drank. I'm probably going to have to drive her home. But in the end, her husband was actually fine to take her. But the crazy thing about this is the next morning, about 7, half 7, Boxing Day morning, she walked back into our house with a brand new baby. My niece had been born. And my mum and my stepdad, who'd stayed the night, didn't even know that she'd gone into labour. She wasn't due for a couple of weeks. And they were woken up to a new grandchild, which is a lovely Christmas family memory. But I also remember it because I had felt so rubbish with that headache, bloating, groggy, that heavy feeling. And this was nothing to do with lack of sleep or drinking. It was when I realized that it didn't take 2 weeks of overeating to feel awful. It just took a couple of days eating way outside of my normal patterns. And it wasn't guilt that made me reflect on this. It was disappointment because I love Christmas way too much to spend the day feeling too ill to enjoy it. So instead of going into December with that all or nothing mindset, go wild now and then diet in January, I started asking myself a different sort of question. What is going to help me enjoy Christmas more, not less? And that wasn't about restricting, because restriction would have made me feel pretty rubbish over Christmas. It was more about actually enjoying the things that I was having, but stopping before the point where they weren't tasting so good anymore. And for me, that looked like still having my giant Toblerone in the fridge, which I just love. It's part of Christmas. And having the turkey and the stuffing, or the Christmas cheese, which I used to just like pile on. But I am lactose intolerant and I used to joke and call it cheese fatigue. It used to make me feel ill, and it's now something that I'll just have a very small amount of because I enjoy the taste, not how it makes me feel for a long time after. And the thing that I wasn't necessarily expecting, and I know this is the case with so many women, is that we don't enjoy Christmas less when we become intentional. we actually then enjoy it more. And for me, it was because I actually felt good. So these days, my Christmas starts with a walk or a run before anyone else is properly awake. This helps me clear my head, it puts me in a good mood, and it lets me be present for the rest of the day. I do like to be up and about. So the day of sitting around with family, sometimes I feel like I need to kind of get out and get some fresh air. And if you're listening to this and you're already worrying about December and how it's going to push you off track, then I want this episode to be really clear from the start. This is not about dieting through Christmas. This is not about feeling like you have to be good. This is about enjoying Christmas more by feeling good during it. And to do that, I think we need to understand why so many of us fall into that fuck it, it's December mindset in the first place. But before we do that, I also want to clear something up, because I think a lot of women need to be reminded of this. You are absolutely allowed to have a fat loss goal. And you're also absolutely allowed to decide not to pursue that fat loss goal in December if that is what works for you. Not every day or every week of life is meant to be optimal for fat loss. And that doesn't mean that you've slipped or you've failed or you've let yourself go. For some women, December is a great time to focus on fat loss. And for others, the win is simply maintaining, keeping the habits alive, and arriving in January feeling calm and in control, instead of starting again from the bottom. Now, there is no right answer here. Actually, I think there is a right answer. The right approach is going to be the one that feels realistic with what you've got going on. And the whole purpose of this episode is to help you make that choice intentionally, rather than ending up upset because you set expectations that didn't fit how life was actually looking and weren't realistic in the first place. So here's where things start to get interesting, because most of us don't fall off track around Christmas because of Christmas Day itself. It ends up being because of the whole month of December. December is built differently. There's food everywhere. There are more social events than any other month. Late nights become very normal, sleep drops, routines change, and then once energy goes, motivation goes, and then movement starts to drop as well. So if you've ever felt like everything was going great and then December arrived and it all fell apart, nothing actually fell apart. Your capacity has changed, and consistency is always going to be harder when capacity is lower. Most women do amazingly, myself included, when routine is in place, when life is steady, when our energy is decent, when our checklist fits the day and we know exactly what we need to do, and then we can do it well. But when our routine changes and it slips, even for really positive reasons like Christmas markets, drinks with friends, school events, family time, days off, and then suddenly there's this pressure to still manage to do everything else perfectly. And that perfection pressure can create a really painful trap, because if we then can't do everything, we start feeling like we can't do anything. And then the emotional pressure piles on. The fear of undoing our progress, the panic of I don't want to start new year feeling like I've lost control. And for some, the pressure to achieve enough before the year ends. And then that pressure alone can flip us into this familiar pattern, over restriction in early December, followed by rebounding later in December, not because you lack discipline, but because the expectations that we set ourselves don't match the reality of the month that we're currently living in. And then just to make things even more fun, the food and environment changes as well. And this is where marketing psychology comes into play, because they know exactly how our brains work. So many of those Christmas foods come with a subconscious message. You'll only get this right now. That gingerbread latte, that Terry's chocolate orange, turkey and stuffing sandwich from Pret a Manger that will only be on the shelves until January. These foods aren't necessarily better than what we can get at any other time of the year, but they feel more exciting because they're scarce. And our brain hates scarcity. When something feels limited or time-bound, we automatically assign it more value. And it's not a discipline issue, it's how we're wired. It's the way our brain works. Then, just to make things a little bit harder, they layer nostalgia on top of that as well. Sherry while putting up the tree, mince pies on Christmas Eve, mulled wine at Christmas market. Food companies don't just sell food in December, they sell moments. If we think about the John Lewis advert, every year, it's not just about what they're selling on screen, they're selling the feeling that we want Christmas to be like. And then on top of that, we get dopamine. The brain will get the biggest dopamine hit from the first bite, not the third or the fifth. That's why when you're eating that mince pie, that first bite tastes magical. And the third, it's just, fine, whatever. But by then, we're not eating it because we're enjoying it. We're eating it because we're chasing the memory of that first bite. So then when we stack everything together, the fact that we're getting less sleep, we have less energy, our routines are changing, we have higher expectations, more going on, there's more food cues around us, there's more drink cues around us, there's scarcity around these things, nostalgia of how we want things to be, and then the dopamine reward pathways, it becomes very clear why December can feel so much harder. And this isn't a lack of willpower on your part. It isn't a lack of discipline. It isn't because you can't stay consistent. It's because December is built differently, which means you need a different approach. And then once you see why the month feels more challenging, the whole thing becomes easier to navigate because it stops feeling so personal. It's not you that's broken. It's just that you're expecting the same strategy to work at a very different time. So now that we've talked about why December feels harder, the extra social events, those picking bowls that just are lying around the house, the food that's brought into the office that's everywhere, the disrupted routine, the tiredness, the pressure from outside, I think we need to move on to what we can actually do to help. What can we do about it? Because most of us don't just struggle on Christmas Day. We struggle with the whole month of December. So the question becomes, how can we enjoy December? The fun, the food, the social events, without feeling like we've fallen off the wagon by the time that we get to January. And that's where all these strategies come into place, not to make December feel stricter, not to remove the fun, but to help you feel calm and in control while you're enjoying the month. So the first strategy I want to talk about is making a decision before you get to where it is you're going. Not every minute detail, just the things that matter to you. Because when you're walking into a party and you're tired, you're overstimulated, you're chatting, there's music playing, and the food and drink arrives, it's everywhere, your brain is likely already overloaded. And this is the moment where decision fatigue is going to be at its highest. And that's when we default to those autopilot behaviors. Making some decisions before we go that we can really commit to can protect us in that moment. And this, again, isn't about restriction. It's just about being clear with ourselves. I'm not going to pick from sharing bowls. So I'm going to get a plate and have a full plate of food, but I'm not taking anything from those shared bowls. That can be really useful when you're out and about. Or I'm not going to drink until this time, and then I'm going to have 2 or 3 because I know that I'll enjoy it more at that point. These little decisions you're making in advance that you can commit to that are realistic remove so many tiny micro decisions, and it replaces it with one clear choice. And then the brain isn't fighting a battle in the moment. It's just much easier to enjoy yourself and the evening feeling in control. So the next strategy is going to be thinking about controlling what you can. You're not going to be able to control everything. You might be going out and somebody else has prepared the food, but there are those other meals that you're having in the day. And we're not thinking here about earning food or preparing to be good. It's just that our body works so much better when it's fed and hydrated well. When our blood sugar is stable, cravings are going to be lower. And when we eat protein and fiber in our meals, we're going to be fuller faster and stay fuller for longer. And when we're hydrated, alcohol is going to hit slower and our appetite is also going to be steadier. So eating proper meals before a social event isn't dieting, it's protecting your energy so you can enjoy the evening more and not less. And I don't know about you, but I make the worst decisions when I'm hungry. So going out feeling hungry is a recipe for disaster. And I've mentioned this strategy before because it was something a client of mine used to do. And that was having a protein shake just before heading out. And part of this was because it would help her feel fuller. A protein shake made with water is 100 calories, maybe less. And it also made her worry about the protein level less there as well. So having just something before you go out can be really useful for helping you be more mindful around food as well. And strategy 3 is thinking about supporting tomorrow you. So if you know that you're going to be tired the next day, decide in advance how you can make that easier. Future you is going to be so happy if you've supported her in advance. So it might be that you've planned or prepped some breakfast, that you've got some leftovers at lunch ready, you've chosen a gentle walk, and you've set realistic expectations. Even one tiny decision takes away the "I've ruined it, what's the point" mentality that so many of you will recognize. And this strategy works because it reduces that morning overwhelm, which is one of the biggest triggers of "screw it, I'll start again another time." Strategy 4 is non-negotiables. I'm also going to talk about how to choose them, because these are one of the most powerful tools for December. And it's also the one that people will often overlook because it doesn't sound very impressive. Your non-negotiables are not the habits that keep you going on your best days. These are the things that you can do on your busiest, craziest days. The mistake that so many of us make with these, and I've definitely made this mistake myself, is choosing habits that depend on perfect conditions. So I'm going to stretch for 20 minutes. I'm going to meditate for half an hour. I'm going to walk 10,000 steps every single day. I'm going to do 4 workouts this week. Those habits are great. And if you can do them, absolutely do. But December is one giant joyful interruption. So a non-negotiable shouldn't be there to impress everyone. It should feel almost too easy. And this is the point, because the mission in December isn't to do as much as possible. It's to keep the habit going. This will make January so much easier. So the way that I would think about this is, if you're feeling or tired, can you still do it? If the answer is no, then the habit needs to be smaller. So I'm going to give you an example from my life with my stretching. I wanted to introduce stretching. And in the past, I tried to do this, but I was trying to do kind of full 15, 20-minute stretches. And I realized that I'd be better off stretching every day to help my back for a shorter amount of time. But sometimes even 10 minutes feels like quite a lot in that situation. So I told myself that I would stretch every day, even if some days it was 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And that helped me keep that habit going. And the funny thing is, I almost always did my 10 minutes. But even when I didn't, I still kept the habit alive. I still sent myself the message that I'm someone who looks after my body. I'm someone that's being proactive. And this is where non-negotiables really come in December. They don't just support your health, they protect your identity. You're the person that can do this. So when you're choosing yours, ask yourself, can I do this on my busiest day of December? Would I be able to do it even if I'm really tired or maybe feeling a little bit ill? And does this keep my habit alive even when it's small? And if the answer is yes, then this is a good non-negotiable. And don't underestimate how small they can be. A 5-minute, 10-minute walk, it might not be optimal, but it's still getting you doing something. Protein at breakfast every day, water before your first coffee, stretching for 2 minutes, prepping some breakfast the night before, or even doing one thing each evening to make tomorrow easier as a habit. They don't necessarily scream discipline, but they scream consistency. And that is going to make January feel so much easier instead of overwhelming, because doing something even tiny is always more powerful than doing the perfect thing inconsistently. And the final strategy I want to talk to you about, which I believe is one of the most powerful tools that you can use in December, is the no crap cake condition, which is choosing rather than reacting. It takes you out of that autopilot and puts you back in the driver's seat. So the no crap cake condition isn't about eating less, it's about eating more intentionally. It's built on 2 ideas: less often, but more enjoyable, and making a choice and not a reaction. And the easiest way to do that in real time is to pause long enough to ask yourself these questions. Do I actually want this? Would I enjoy this thing more later? Is this something I really look forward to, or am I just eating it because it's there? Is it bang average, or is it incredible? And there's no guilt here, no moral judgment. It simply creates a moment of clarity and takes you away from the autopilot that can so easily take over. And it's not just because it's going to reduce calories, it's because it protects that enjoyment. Because when you say yes to the things that you really want and no to the bang average stuff, you then enjoy those foods that you love more fully, instead of just drowning them out with 10 other things you don't really even care about. And people enjoy Christmas more when they use this approach. They're not waking up feeling sick or annoyed with themselves. There's no guilt because we made a choice. We're not losing control. They don't go into January feeling like they're desperate for a reset. And then you get the best of both worlds, right? Enjoyment and intention. So that is the heart of the no crap cake condition. Still having the things you love, but having them in a way where you can actually enjoy them. Less picking on the bang average, more enjoying fully those incredible moments. And the thing that all of these strategies have in common is that they don't work because they make you restrict more. They work because they keep you connected to yourself and what you want. They protect your energy. They lower that overwhelm and they reduce decision fatigue. They keep your confidence in yourself intact and help you enjoy the month in real time, in that moment, not just after it's over. And even better is that none of them require perfection. They work even when life is super busy, which is why they're ideal for December. But we do need to talk about one more thing that can get in the way at this time of year, and that's other people. Not because anyone is trying to sabotage our efforts. They're not. It's just that Christmas comes with these unspoken pressures to eat and drink in the same way as everyone else. You will hear things like, oh, go on, it's Christmas, have another, or you're not driving. Why don't you have another drink? Well, I've made this. I knew you liked it. And often in those moments, it feels so much easier to say yes than to say no. But you are allowed to enjoy Christmas in a way that feels good for you, even if it looks different to how other people are doing it. I think we really need to remember that. And again, not because we're being good, not because you're on a diet, but because you want to feel good. And when you're clear on your intentions, everyone else's opinions are going to lose their power. Most of the pressure we feel isn't actually coming from the other people. It's coming from worrying what they'll think. People rarely really care whether you're drinking Prosecco or Diet Coke. And often they don't even know if you have swapped. But actually, if you are worried about that, something I did at a Christmas party that we had a couple of years back is I was pouring other people Prosecco and I was pouring myself a non-alcoholic bubbly. No one noticed. Everyone was having a great time. I felt great because I wasn't drinking alcohol. I didn't want to drink because I wanted to feel good. I had things on the next day and it was all great. And actually then another lady did notice that I had the non-alcoholic version and asked for it as well because she didn't really want to drink very much. There's often people that are feeling exactly the same. But really, we shouldn't even have to do that, should we? We don't owe anyone an explanation or this performance. I just found that easier in the moment. But we could say, I'm good, thanks. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm deciding to pace myself. I've got a lot on this week. I think trying not to get into the habit of over-explaining what we're doing, or I'm trying to be good, or I'm on a diet, and just being honest is going to be key here. No apology is needed. People are going to be far more likely to accept the boundary you're setting when you feel comfortable delivering it. Maybe practice in a mirror. I think the awkwardness only appears when we feel unsure, and that's what people cling on to. So you can practice no. It doesn't mean you'll always say no. It just means that it makes it possible when you want to. A strategy I had for saying things that make us feel uncomfortable is to imagine you're asking someone to pass the salt to you. You wouldn't go, oh, sorry, would you mind passing the salt? You'd say, oh, pass the salt, please. Or could you pass the salt? You would say it confidently. Put yourself into the mindset of asking someone to pass you the salt when you're saying, no, thank you. And then feel proud of yourself for doing what you want in December, not what everyone else might or might not be expecting you to do. So perhaps we need to have a plan for December. Not a spreadsheet of macros or anything like that, just something to help us be a bit clearer. Because when we haven't got a plan and we don't know how we want December to feel, December is going to decide for us. And this is where those action-based progress goals are going to come in, not outcome-based goals, although you might have an outcome of, I want to go into January feeling in control. But outcome goals will often be, I want to lose weight before January, or I don't want to undo all my progress. But these aren't very clear. They're valid, but not very clear. And they can fall apart when life does get stressful. So we want action-based goals, thinking about those non-negotiables as well. So that might be choosing 3 habits that you can stick to even when life is busy. And these are going to look different for everyone. And you can go back and reflect on these weekly to make sure they work for you. And these are going to be part of our December challenge again, inside the No Crap Cake method. What we're trying to do by setting these goals is acknowledging that we are human, we have a social life, responsibilities, but we can still make progress. And the key here is being specific, not I'm going to move more, but I'm going to walk 10 minutes every day. Not I'm going to eat better, but I'm going to add protein to 2 of my meals most days or consistently. Not I'm going to be more organized, but I'm going to set up breakfast the night before. I'm going to get one thing ready for the morning in the evening. These commitments, yeah, I know they don't sound glamorous, but they are going to keep you moving in the right direction, have you feeling more in control through December. And also they're going to make you feel so good each time you get to the end of the week and you've met your progress goals each week. It's telling you, I can do this even now, even when life is busy. And that is a great feeling. And then you're going to go into January saying things like, oh, normally December wipes me out, but this year I feel great. Or usually I get to January desperate to start again, but this year I'm already going. And then give yourself time to reflect on this, not a time to beat yourself up for what is or isn't working, not telling yourself off or berating yourself, not reliving every moment that you didn't love. Just a simple weekly reflection. What has worked well for me this week? What has made things harder? And again, here, not beating ourselves up. This is so that we can learn. There is no failure, only feedback, remember. And then what would make next week easier? That's it. I've heard this in a book recently called Plus, Minus, and Next. And I like that. So we're here to course correct instead of giving up, because maybe the habits we've picked have been too hard. Maybe late nights threw your eating off a bit. Maybe social pressure caught you off guard. Maybe you were just tired. I'm going to say it again, just in case you didn't hear me. There is no failure. There's only feedback. We can learn so much. I think it was Seth Godin that said those who fail most win, but only if we reflect, because reflection is going to give us the ability to adjust the plan, not to abandon it. And then when we do that week after week, that's when the magic happens. You don't just walk into January trying to fix everything, because you're already moving forward. December is always going to be full on. And this is the point. It's not easy for everyone. Everybody's got different things going on. It's really busy. It's social. It's chaotic. And for most of us, hopefully, it's brilliant. But if you are listening to this and thinking, I still feel pretty nervous that I'm going to lose control this month, here's exactly where to start. And that's by stopping and asking yourself what is actually realistic for you right now. Not that version, remember, of you that has unlimited time and energy, not the January version of you, but you today with the life, the demands and the capacity that you actually have. No over restriction because you're worried about what later in December will look, because over restriction leads to overeating. And remember, December isn't a test of willpower. It's a test of expectations. You are absolutely allowed to have that fat loss goal if you have it. And you're absolutely allowed to choose not to focus on this for the whole of December if that works for you. It might be that some weeks you do and other weeks you don't. The point is, make it your choice. For some women, the win that they get this month is going to be progress. They're going to be continuing to focus on fat loss where they can. For others, the win is going to be maintaining, keeping those habits alive, feeling good, and walking into January feeling in control, not starting again. And as I said earlier, the right approach is the one that is going to let you enjoy December and feel like you're still in the driver's seat. So if you take just one thing from this episode, let it be this: you don't need the perfect plan for December. You just need a realistic one. Because when our expectations match the capacity that we have, everything gets easier. Take that time and energy you have into consideration and keep your confidence intact. We don't want January to feel like a punishment because we enjoyed December. We just want it to be a continuation. And if you are wanting some support with this, support that helps you enjoy December rather than feel overly restricted, we have the best Black Friday offer running inside the No Crap Cake Method, Ruth McFit. Anyone who joins before the end of this month gets 20% off their first 2 months, a bonus check-in mid-December, no matter what level you sign up at. And you also get to be part of our Finish Strong challenge in December, which is going to be helping you set realistic action-based progress goals, avoid that all or nothing trap, and go into January feeling capable and in control, not desperate for a reset. The link is going to be in the show notes, as well as the discount code you can use for that 20% off. If you're not sure which level is right for you, then you are welcome to send me a message on Instagram at Ruth McFit, and I will happily point you in the right direction with no pressure at all. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode and if it's given you something to think about for December, I would love it if you subscribed or left a quick rating so that more women can find it. And absolutely, as I said, do come over to Instagram at Ruth McFit, where you can ask me any questions about health and fitness, midlife, fat loss, whatever it is. Have an amazing December, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Goodbye.